the Tom Brady's of the world, the MJs, the LeBrons, the Messis, the Ronaldos, the Mike Trouts, like these types of players, investing in these types of players is going to mitigate more risk in short term and long term, in my opinion. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mints. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Bruce.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking to you about the market lows. What's been going on with the market? Why are prices so low? Why are prices balancing out? How we feel about it, our opinions, who benefits from this market correction, and kind of what we see happening within the hobby for the time being. But before we get into that, as always, if you could please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get podcasts, wherever you're listening to this today. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really does help us a lot with our numbers. It helps us with future sponsorship deals. That's definitely something we're working on right now. We're trying to go legit, baby. But thank you again for taking the time out of your day every week to listen to us and support the podcast. So with that being said, let's get into today's topic, man.
Okay, so the market lows. What does it mean to people that have spent a lot of money on cards since the pandemic versus people that have been collecting for a while? This is my personal opinion. Prices should have never gotten as high as they have for especially ultra modern, especially wax boxes. That's my personal opinion. Some things are going to go up in value. Some things are going to be more sustainable, but realistically, it's modern cards being thousands of dollars is not sustainable, at least for like base cards and certain things like that. What this means, I think, for me in general, and for people that have been collecting for a while, it's not going to prevent them from picking up the cards that they like, because most of the people that have been collecting for a while, they didn't just immediately change the pace of the way that they were picking up cards or collecting by saying, okay, I collect vintage cards, but I'm just going to start picking up the newest Prism product, and that's it. For me, it's been a guilty pleasure of doing both, especially when we were picking up Optic heavy for Ja Morant and Zion's rookie year, when you could still find these products. We enjoyed ripping them, but the sustainability for this kind of market is just, it's very iffy, and the bottom line, I think, of what we're trying to get to is people are going to start realizing more that what's going to continue to go up in value is really going to be the older cards, the vintage cards, because going back in the 50s and 50s, 60s even, it's very hard to get gem mint copies of these cards. So these are the cards that are going to break auctions as far as, prices, seeing what they haven't before, but all this other stuff is just going to continue to normalize a little bit. And you'll still have, your big cards. We talk about Luka Doncic's Prism rookie a lot. His base card should normalize a little bit, and people will start paying attention more to, his fast break color cards and, numbered cards. I feel like any sport that you have, especially for parallels, back in the day, it was more about picking up the rare cards or numbered cards in general. That's kind of the stuff that's harder to pull, that's more sought after. People are going to sooner or later drop picking up a bunch of base cards, and flipping them for 2 times, 3 times. It's no different from wax, really.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I think that there's a few factors in play right now that are happening that we're seeing that, we had our episode about the bubble and what's causing the bubble and whatnot. Like, we kind of had a similar episode, but we were just talking about strategies of how to prepare yourself if there is a bubble. But this episode is going to be more about what's happening, what's causing these current lows. I feel like, I think that there is a correction in play, which we definitely spoke about previously, and we've personally been talking about it prior, and that there's going to be a time when the correction is going to happen. And if this is the correction, then it is. If it's not, then it's still coming. But I think that not only a correction is at play, but it's the off season, man. If your teams are, I mean, the NBA playoffs are shaping up, conference finals are in full swing, and if your teams aren't in the playoffs, usually you're going to see a drop in your players' value as far as what's in your PC. And from it looks of it, with the Suns knocking out the Lakers right away and Luka being out, Ja and the Grizzlies being out early, we're not talking about major market teams, even the Knicks, you know. We're not really talking major market teams. The only real true winners, I think, are Devin Booker and Trae Young right now. Obviously, Kyrie and James Harden and KD are all always going to have their following and fan base, but I think that how well Trae Young and Devin Booker have been playing throughout the playoffs, yeah, I think it really does speak volumes to their ability as a player. And if you were hedging your bets on Luka, if you're hedging your bets on Zion or Ja Morant, these are the dudes, man. These are the dudes that prove themselves deep into the playoffs. And I think that that's not for nothing. But
Yeah.
to finish my thought, I guess, is it's like in that spot in sports where it's close to being the only thing that's on is baseball. And I know there's a lot of baseball fans out there. I know there's a lot of baseball collectors out there, but it's different from in the fall every year where there's baseball on, there's basketball on, or, you know, there's basketball's heating up at least, and the football season's in full swing. Like, that's where the time of the year that's most active, in my opinion, in the hobby that I've seen so far. But I think it's just also just a lull in the sports, in the time of sports. But what do you think?
Well, I think that the normalized way of things is, you know, the off season, like you said, that's normally the time to pick up cards. And at the same time, though, during season is when you want to pick up those players, you know, that you're rooting for, or teams or whatever. So like normally in the hobby, how it goes is there's chase cards in every product. You know, there's the big cards, the rookie cards, whatever. But in a normal world, you could pick up these cards in retail or hobby even for decent prices. And then you're still taking a gamble spending money, but knowing that, you know, these big chase cards in the products, they request a premium is why you try to open packs and you try to pull that card or whatever it may be, you know, because this is a cheaper alternative. It's not like that anymore. It's you have to pay almost double or triple for a hobby box to try to get the card that you should have just bought to begin with instead of buying a hobby box. Like, to me, it's like the correction is just normalizing back to what the hobby should be, you know. And the biggest thing that I'm curious about right now, I know we've been picking up soccer because if you talk about trying to buy the dip, it's like soccer is still somewhat off season, it's heating up. But at the same time, I mean, we've talked about, like, you notice how the football market heated up so soon, you know, well before season, you know. So even though there's been a dip in a lot of products, it's like football has still been like kind of even, and a lot of that stuff has been pretty high, you know. But at the same time, you know, we talk about picking up Lamar Jackson, his prices have been lower, they're starting to heat up a little bit. But that's my biggest thing is, like, even though there's a dip in the market, I'm curious to see, like, once football actually begins, is there going to be is it going to boost everything back up? Or I don't know, what do you think about that?
I think that it's going to start to boost back up. Who's to say if it's going to get back to where it was when it was at its peak within the last, you know, few months or so, or before the season ended. But right now we're kind of right smack dab in the middle of the off season of football. We're actually even getting closer to the season starting. But this is the move. If you're picking up football right now, this is the move. It's right about to be the basketball off season, which is another smart time to make some moves. Which, if it's a correction compounded on the off-season pickups, now is the time to make your plays. Now is the time, if you can afford to do it, if you have the means to do it, or if you have the interest in even doing it, now's the time to double down because you're getting the best prices possible. Like, even, for example, I picked up some Messi's, some 2014 World Cup Messi Prism cards, PSA 9s, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago for a while there. and my dollar cost average was like, I got one for like 225, 230. I got one for 200, and we picked up those ones for 150 that one time. So my dollar cost average is probably like around like 175, 180 per. And now those same cards are going for like 100, 125, 130, 140. So even if I could, I've got more than I want to have right now as far as those cards go. But if I wasn't picking up other things, those are the cards I'd be picking up to bring my dollar cost average down to how much I spent total. So it would bring it down to more of like, okay, technically, if you average out the price of all of the pickups that I had at the time, and I'm picking up more now, like, yeah, I'm picking up more cards, but the average cost of them is going to be lower if I double down. But even for example, like I pulled up a few cards to kind of give an example of price ranges and the time periods of what they're going for now. So a PSA 10 Optic Ja Morant, just a base card. That card's currently bottoming out right now. It could get lower because of the off season. I think it will. But right now the bottom for that price within this past few days is $100,
That's a great price.
which is a great price for Ja Morant.
Especially because you know that wax is still going to be really expensive.
Exactly,
if you're trying
especially
to pull
for
that
Optic.
card. I mean,
For that year,
and not an easy grade for centering alone on that set.
no. But just for example, so that's a recent price, and it could go lower. These exact same cards were going for around 285, pushing 275, 300 in March. So even if you picked it up now and it went up another $50, if it went back up to 150, like that's still a $50 appreciation of your card. I could see it getting back up to 200. I think that's a pretty fair price for a Ja Morant. I think 190, 200, even 210 for a PSA 10 Ja, for a flawless optic card, because those are so tough to grade. I think that's kind of a fair market value in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well. And realistically, as far as like the lows of what the market are right now, like that PSA 10 Ja Morant optic, that could be a fair price at this moment. And that's the correction, is understanding that at this moment, he's a great player, but he's still relatively new. He's very young. So that $100 card, like, before all this market explosion, if you really want a rookie card of a player that you want, if you can get it around $100, that's awesome. And then over time, if you believe in that player and they pan out, then that's when you'll see, the normal rise in the value. It shouldn't just be because he had a really good season, which that dude is a beast, man. I mean, if he continues to play every season healthy and as dominant as he is, I mean, that's why his prices should rise. It shouldn't just be because he's like a fresh, hot player, you know what I mean, that's balling out. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is the correction as of lately as far as prices lowering, to me, is just, equaling out the value of what a card should be. It's not just because of hype. The long-term value is up to you. That's the gamble that you take, and how much you're interested in a player or a team. I don't know, man. I feel more old school about the way of things, because back in the day, spending $25 to $50 on a card, not talking about grading or anything, but that was a big deal. And I still have some of those cards to this day, and some of them are worth a lot more, like old school Topps Chrome refractors and stuff like that. A lot of those have gained value now just because of the rarity and stuff that you don't see in general. But that's kind of like the correction that I see right now as far as why values are lower. It's because not everything can be sought after or desirable. And if a lot of people are probably discouraged because of the price drop, and at the same time, if you are discouraged and it's kind of like putting a bad spot in your head about the hobby, it's probably not for you. There's other ways to make money or other interests that you might have that seem more, sustainable or long-term for you. But it's like with cards, man, it's just, there's so many of them, and only a few of them really in the span of like a long-term collectability and investment. I mean, there's only a few that really should be seeking super premium prices.
Right. This is why we've been preaching and we don't ever really want to necessarily tell people what to do or even offer advice, really. Like, the hobby is what you make of it, and whether it costs you a lot of money or you make a lot of money or you are just not even worried about the monetary value of things. This is why we always kind of try to preach of collecting what you love and who you love, and if what you love is cheap and affordable, then by all means, man, pick them up. Pick up some rare cards, pick up some serial numbered cards, some PSA 10s, some low pop cards. But if you're looking to make investments, this is why those GOAT investments, investing in the Tom Brady's of the world, the MJs, the LeBrons, the Messis, the Ronaldos, the Mike Trouts, like these types of players, investing in these types of players is going to mitigate more risk in short term and long term, in my opinion. I mean, for example, like one of the cards that I pulled up just to speak about on the pod is in April of this year, a base PSA 10 Joe Burrow Prism. That's card number 307. So just the base Joe Burrow rookie card was going for $1,000 in April.
That is nuts.
That exact same card today is going for $430.
That's still a lot.
It's still a ton of money, but just picture this. If you're new to the hobby and you didn't have guidance like you gave me whenever I joined the hobby, and you were just kind of watching a lot of YouTube videos or following a lot of accounts that pump and dump. If you were just taking not so much bad advice, but if you were taking investing advice from people that have a lot of money to throw around and can take big losses like that, if you were somebody that's like, okay, I have $5,000 to put into the hobby for investing, and you picked up five of those Joe Burrow cards for $5,000, which is crazy for a base card, and now you're sitting there with less than half of your money just a mere 3 months ago.
And it shouldn't be that way, dude. Like, just like the Optic Ja Morant. I mean,
I hate to cut you off. Here's the kicker with that. From April to June, the price cut in half. It went from $1,000 to $430. There has been no football played since then. So it's not like Joe Burrow had a bad game and his prices went down. No, dude, like this was all off-season movement. April was 2 months after the Super Bowl. So these are all, if this isn't a prime example of speculation or rookie speculation within the hobby, I don't know what is. But I understand if you're from Cincy, if you're from Ohio and you love Joe Burrow and that's your favorite player, by all means, man, pick up whatever you want of him. I like Joe Burrow. I liked him as a college player. I thought he was the real deal in college. He got hurt in the pros. He got his first taste of what it's like to play in the NFL, and hopefully he's back to normal at full capacity this coming season. But if you're spending a lot of money in the hobby, me personally, if I'm not picking up Tom Brady or players of that ilk, I don't think that I could make those types of risks, just because the NFL is so dangerous and it's you're a snap away. I mean, I guess that's with all sports, but you literally every snap people are running to take your head off, you know?
Well, that's also why you're not making those big money moves on not necessarily football, but just like young guys like that. Because the thing with Joe Burrow is he's super young, so you expect him to bounce back, do better this season. But at the same time, there's just no reason why his card should be, at least for a base. I mean, if we're talking, a short printed parallel or auto or something for Prism, then that's one thing. But these are just cards that should be obtainable, because it gets more people interested. I mean, if they're affordable, you pick up the card, and then, if the player continues to do well, it rises in value. That's the normal thing of the hobby. Monthly, basically, like with Beckett and Magazine, grading and stuff. You see the rise or the most sought after cards, the hot cards, or the players that are having a really great season. That's normal to see their prices rise, but right off the bat, it just shouldn't be like $1,000 for a base rookie. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So for these cards to drop, to me, it's just like people coming to a realization that these are still new players. And, granted that they're very good players, and their cards should fetch a little bit more of a premium than like the second round, whatever pick. Dude, it's like with sports, it's like anybody can pop off at any moment, and that's when you see cards rise in value, but it shouldn't be because they rushed, a touchdown for however many yards that their card just went up to 100 from $2. Like that's just not how it works in the real world of the hobby.
Right. And just take some time. Take some time to do your research. That's why we always advocate for people to do your research. And if you're about to spend that kind of money, we've had people reach out to us on Instagram, and please continue to do that. If you're thinking about spending that kind of money on a single card or a few cards of certain players and you're iffy about it, if there's anything we can do to help, if you sent us, hey, I'm thinking about picking up this card and it's a lot of money and I just want to know what your thoughts are, can I get your second opinion? Please message us on Instagram. A lot of the reasons that we started Raw Mints and the reason why we started this podcast is to try to help people in any way possible, whether it's giving people second opinions or sharing some of the knowledge that we have or sharing some of the stories that you have from the hobby of the past and how you can relate it to the current hobby, or even like now, how we were talking off the pod, you don't really even pay attention that much to dips as a collector. You haven't really in your collecting past because you're not really worried about that type of thing. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
The bottom line is, by all means, like, we're encouraging, because we want the same stuff too, dude. Like, especially like collecting rookie cards, I feel like it's a lot more popular than it was back in the day. And I mean, since you've gotten into the hobby, I was like, rookie cards, like, you should be able to pick up rookie cards at an affordable price. With what we go off of as far as picking up goats only, it's not just necessarily about like the monetary value of things. It's just like the more established players are, you know what I mean? It's just different. I feel like you should be able to pick up Joe Burrow, Tua, Herbert, even like going to card shows or places and picking up these cards raw, looking at the cards. Like, I feel like these should be affordable cards, and if, again, like Carlos was saying, like, reach out to us in any way possible, because there are moves to be made on this low end of the market right now. But at the same time, if there is a low market for everything right now, like, you can get in on, some crazy cards depending on what your budget is. We were just talking about before we recorded this about the Jordan rookie that, at the beginning of the year, it was like 700,000 in
Right.
a PSA 10. It's somewhere around 100,000 right now, which is, still a lot of money. That's a huge market correction, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know, if you have that kind of budget, that's a really sick card to pick up. But I don't know. I just feel like hopefully this correction and things just helps people to pick up the cards that they want, without having to pay a crazy amount. And if you are looking at a card like a Tom Brady rookie or a LeBron rookie or a Derek Jeter rookie or whoever, I mean, these cards are going to continue to fetch a premium, but still, I mean, there's still some moves to be made as far as picking up, even if you're comfortable with lower grade copies or whatever, if you can see a raw version in person. To us, this is the time to pick up that kind of stuff, I feel like.
And if you are picking up these things and you notice something, if you're searching on eBay for cards to pick up, to take advantage of the correction or the dip that's happening right now, still, if you are picking up cards, don't just go back to the base cards. If you're looking to pick up something right now, take advantage of, if base cards are dropping in price, graded base cards are dropping in price, that means everything else is dropping. That means parallels are dropping.
Yeah, get those parallels, man.
Serial numbered cards are dropping. Kind of try to think of it this way. If you were like on the fence a month ago or 2 months ago with, I don't really know if I want to spend $250 on a PSA 10 base rookie card of this player, and now a serial numbered card is the same price and the base card is like $60-$70. If you were on the fence of picking up a base super high pop rookie card, And now for the same price, you can pick up a rare serial numbered card that if it's numbered to 49 or if it's numbered to 99, that's the highest it can go in existence in the world. That's another way to frame things as well. I know that's how I've been thinking, like where prior when I was looking at cards or looking at players that I wanted to prospect with or diversify my portfolio a little bit with, I was like, man, like, do I really want to spend this for a base card? Like, I wish I had even just a silver or a green or a red, white, and blue even. Like, I wish I could pick up those cards or even like the blue velocities or, the laser cards of football. Like, I wish I could at least have that for the same price, but now you can. So,
Yeah. And that's how it should be. That should be normal, man. I mean, because again, like, no offense to base cards, like base rookie cards are key, and if this player is established or they become better over time, then that card is going to rise. But there's no reason why a fresh player, that card should be a couple $100 raw. It should be an affordable amount. You know what I mean? That way people are able to get the card. Some people will flip it for a little bit more, but I mean, holding it over a certain amount of time and it should rise. But realistically, like just back in the day, dude, like pulling cards, I mean, like, it's cool to pull rookies. I always made note of that. I always sleeve my rookies just because I like rookie cards. But, getting those inserts, those parallels and stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of where the value is at. I mean, it's just it's almost backwards anymore. And that's why you see the confusion, like this market correction or this low market is really, just people doing it backwards. I feel like in a sense, like it should be that the rookies are affordable to an extent and they will go up in value over time. But like, you got to try to find the patience too, again, like if you're just in this for money, just for the instant return, like the hobby is probably not for you. Unless you just have the money, you know what you're doing and you're going for those 101s into 10s and, 5s, whatever. There's definitely some money to be made that way. Those are the things that are continue to hold value and go up in value. But I mean, I don't know. The market correction, to me, where it stands is just that, people should be able to get products, wax, cards in their hands just because they like the sport or they like the player. That doesn't mean that that's it. That's the end of the story, that there's no value after that. But I mean, it takes time to really distinguish all that, dude. That's why, again, we pick up GOATs only. If we're going to spend that kind of money on certain cards, we want to pick up the players that we enjoyed watching growing up or the players that were just, on a different level than today's game.
Yeah. And when we say GOATs only, usually the GOATs that we pick up, we could also throw those in our PC. But when we say GOATs only, our GOATs only motto is for investing purposes. When it comes to picking cards up just because we like the player, that's just for our PC. So, you can imagine, I've been picking up quite a few soccer cards right now of cards that I've been wanting for some time, but I just couldn't really justify the price. And I was hoping for a correction so I could pick them up just to have for my PC and, stickers. And I've been picking up quite a few soccer cards for low right now.
And even basketball rookies too. I know you've picked up, graded cards just because what was once $100 to $200 is now $30 to $40.
A fraction of it, man. Another thing to keep in mind too, I think that we haven't really talked about, and I know we will in the future, is once PSA opens back up, what are they going to be charging for grading? Because I think that's going to see a direct correlation to card values, because if there's anybody out there like us that has a fat stack of cards out for grading with PSA right now that we're just waiting to get back,
or cards ready to grade,
right, and we have so many cards ready for grade, you better believe that if we're selling cards and they increase the cost that it takes for cards to get graded, that's going to be included in the price or the premium of the cards that we're flipping. And I think that there's a
Yeah,
lot of people that are going to be thinking that exact same way. Like, why wouldn't you? You have to at least recover your losses for grading, or to prepare yourself for future grading, you know? It's not
for
price
sure.
gouging. It's just, it's inflation at the end of the day. So I think I see that happening. But I mean, until we know how much PSA is going to continue to charge, like whether they fix nothing at all and it's just going to get back to being backed up, it's whatever. It is what it is. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. But if they come back and the price to grade, the same price that was 12, $15 before they shut down, is now $100 per card, it's gonna really change things, I think, in the hobby as far as um, cards getting graded. If I think it's gonna really, like you mentioned, those base cards are gonna lose a lot of value. I just think that they are. I think regardless of who the player is, especially the ultra modern stuff, I don't see vintage taking too much of a hit. But then again, that 1986, MJ PSA 10, like you said, was going for close to a million. It was going for 750 K, is now at 180 or 108 or whatever it was,
Which is still a
108,000,
tremendous amount
which
of
is,
money.
it's
I
still
mean,
a
we
ton
can't
of
buy that
money.
card.
No, I
Yeah.
definitely not. But at the same time, it's like, I think that there's just a lot of anxiety and anxiousness in the hobby right now. And if you are feeling that, I think it's perfectly normal. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if you have that anxiety because you're about to be out of a lot of money, maybe it's time to start making some moves. Like, maybe it's,
Yeah.
and maybe if you don't have the skin to stay in the hobby, if that's what you're doing, was trying to just make money fast, and you realize that that's not what the hobby is about, either get out now or hold the bag for some time until it goes back up, like,
Yeah, or just reevaluate what you're doing in the
right.
hobby in general. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it, I guess.
Everything has risk.
I mean,
When it comes to making money in this world, everything comes with inherent risks. They just do. There's high risk, there's low risk. There's, a lot of people say high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. Like, there's a lot of different moves and plays that you can make within every sport, within every niche product or release. Like, there's moves to be made everywhere. But just know that it's going to be risk regardless. It is a form of gambling. Even picking up graded cards and betting on, is this player going to be something good? Are they going to pan out? Are they going to have a good career? That's gambling. Like, just keep in mind that it is all, if you are prospecting or investing or, making moves, like, it comes with risks, and success rarely comes without risk.
for sure. Yeah. And I was talking about with the market being lower, to me, it's just more of a normalized market. Like a question that I would have for you, I think would be take grading out of the question completely. Say, you're into collecting in a time before grading. If you had money, I guess you can pick your budget of whatever you want to spend. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
grading is not an option. Prices are not like they at the high or anywhere near it as far as wax goes.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the budget, are you going to spend the money just picking up the big chase cards in the set, or are you picking up wax and trying to pull these players personally?
If grading's not in the equation,
Nope. You have Beckett price guide. That's all you have.
hmm. If I'm being honest, man, just for my own pleasure and fun, I think I might be picking up wax, dude. Just to rip something and have fun. Like,
And if you're and back in like the big, but like for me, like if I ripped a box, because you're not guaranteed you're gonna pull that rookie. I mean, even if you pick up a 96, 97 Topps Chrome basketball box, which is, I don't know what the price of that is right now, but pulling a Kobe Bryant rookie, I'm sure is probably, it's not guaranteed in every box, but I mean, you're probably lucky if you pull one in every, let's say, 2 to 3 boxes. I mean, that'd be my guess on it.
mm-hmm.
But just the joy of, let's go back to 2003 Topps Chrome with LeBron. I mean, I'm pretty sure that in Beckett, that card probably priced for a LeBron James was probably, let's say, I don't know, $80 to $150. So it's like back in the day, if you found that card at a card shop, they're going to go off of Beckett value. They're going to say, oh, this card book's 150, but it has off centering or there's a ding corner, so I'm going to give it to you at a reduced price. So how about $75? And I'm not sure at the time that product came out what a hobby box would have ran, but it was probably anywhere from around the same price, probably, $80 to $150. So it's like, it's more of the joy of like, okay, I can pull a LeBron rookie out of here, but I might also pull a Dwayne Wade or a Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, whatever. Or whoever was like back in that Kirk Heinrich from the Bulls, which was like in the top 5. I mean, like these are guys that you're just like, hey, I kind of want to pull that, but I can also pull the LeBron. That's like, to me, it's like that's where things should be, is giving people that opportunity to, have the decision, like, do I want to buy like the top rookie in the set, or do I want to pay the same price for a box, pull that rookie and maybe some other stuff, or maybe the refractor version. That's where I would like to see things go back to. Obviously, it's never going to be the same for 2003 Topps Chrome. I mean, a hobby box of that is going to continue to fetch a premium, because you have the LeBron rookie and you have the refractor and the X-fractor, the gold, whatever. So, I mean, it's going to fetch a crazy premium. But back in the day, I mean, you weren't thinking of it that way. You were just like, I'm going to either buy the hobby box and try to pull this card myself, or I'm going to just pay the price right away and just get that card.
So this week's Ask the Hobby question of the week is a question that we posed to our friend Brian over at Rocky Mountain Baseball Cards on Instagram. Just completely spelled out, Rocky Mountain Baseball Cards. He's a really cool dude. He's super knowledgeable when it comes to the baseball market within the hobby. He's got a crazy PC. He's got a really insane collection. We've became friends over the course of time. He's super cool dude. He shares a lot of really valuable information if you're interested in getting to the baseball market, and he really does know his stuff. So make sure to go give him a follow. So the question that we had for him was, when it comes to collecting and investing in baseball cards, we all know that the best time to buy is usually in the thick of the off season. But with new eyes on baseball this season, when is the best time to both buy or sell during the season, and why? And this was his response.
Okay, so in response to the question, when is a good time to buy and sell baseball cards, especially in today's current market? I really think that baseball is still behind in basketball as far as prices. And for that reason, I definitely think we're still going to see a performance-based market this year where I will be personally selling cards as players peak in performance. And it might not be really quick, but I think if they have some continued success for a month or two, I think we're going to really see some price increases, which will be a potentially good time to sell some of the cards you have. I mean, you can sell them all or hold and continue to wait and see if they even go up more as the player continues to play well and their team progresses towards the postseason. So again, I think baseball is going to be very performance-based. So I'm going to sell at those peak performance highs in season. And as far as buying, I'm buying guys that are going to debut this year as far as prospects. I still think now is a solid time to buy Wander Franco, Jared Kelenic. I think we'll continue to see those prices peak up and hit some all-time highs right before they debut. Same as with the current players. Gleyber Torres has started off slow, if you believe in these guys. So pick the guys you like, and if they perform well, sell high, and if they play poorly, buy low, and then hope for them to rebound. Because, again, baseball is a game of averages, and it's going to take 6 months for these guys to hit some of their peaks. So there's plenty of time between now and the end to sell high and buy low.
So spot on as far as baseball goes. Again, the biggest comparison with baseball and soccer, which I love, is there is room to get in as far as prospecting goes. He said that baseball is behind, obviously, basketball, football even, which is very true. The only extent to that is that as far as vintage goes and certain key rookies, I mean, they do fetch a very high premium. but there's all the room in the world as far as baseball goes, and you're able to prospect and pick up players normally on a low end. Again, if you're talking about certain first Bowman Chrome autos, I mean, they fetch a super high premium, but most of the base cards that you pull right off the bat, whether it's, Bowman Chrome, Bowman Draft, you can pick up all the guys, for decent prices, any player in the set, and that really just comes down to being able to pick up who you like and hold on if you believe in them, because over a period of time, that will continue to rise. Modern baseball probably hasn't seen the heights as certain basketball and NFL rookies go, but at the same
Definitely
time,
not.
yeah, at the same time, it's there, it's just more of you got to have the patience, like you said, this is based on, averages. I mean, baseball is a very long season. It's just different all around, as is soccer. So I think that people that are like the sport, and people that also don't want to spend a lot of money getting into the hobby, if they're interested in sports cards, I think that baseball is a perfect way to get in, whether it's even, Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards, Barry Bonds rookie cards, whatever it may be. I mean, you can still get these cards at affordable prices, raw or graded, unless they're PSA 10s, then yeah, they're going to be a little bit higher, but there's still definitely room to get in. It's a little bit behind, but with this kind of market correction that we've been talking about in this episode, it's like, it's really up to you, and it's maybe it just means that it forces people to really pay attention to the players that they like personally, or the teams that they like, and just going from there, not just like, oh, who's the number one pick overall. Like, I got to get that card. I got to spend $1,000 to get that card. Like, it shouldn't have to be that way.
I think our episode topic really definitely ties into his response to our question. And I think that it really just kind of drives the point even further. I think that baseball, like you said, if you're looking to get into a market, I think baseball is going to be a nice affordable barrier of entry. If you know your stuff, if you know how to do research as far as watching the sport itself and how to keep track of your players, I think baseball is the safest risk I think you could take. Obviously there's going to be a lot of players that sometimes just don't pan out, but there's also players that just have to be patient with, that are going to take not just a season, they're going to take 3-4 years sometimes to even get called up to the majors. Like, that's not uncommon. It's very common. But I think to take it back to the point that we were making during the episode, when you were saying like rookies should be affordable, you should be able to pick up rookies at an affordable or a decent price. I think baseball, you still can. I think you can pick up Gleyber Torres rookie cards. You can even pick up Tatis cards at reasonable prices. I mean, I don't know about now. He's hitting bombs and going crazy. Him and Vlad are going at it for the home run title, but there's still, if you're just focusing on those top 2, top 4, the Acuñas of the world, yeah, their prices are going to be higher. But if you know your stuff, or if you know how to dig into baseball and look at stats and know how to research baseball, there's so many players right now that you could pick up PSA 10s, PSA 9s of for dirt cheap, for under $100,
and a lot of these cards raw too, man. I mean, you can pick up for $5 to $20, and again, always encouraging to be able to do deals. eBay is a great source for comps and everything, but really seek out to figure out, where your card shows are at, where your card shops are at, and see these cards in person, because if you're definitely not wanting to get online and spend $100, I mean, hit up a card shop or a card show. You'll find some of the cards that you're looking for. You'll be able to haggle with dealers. You'll be able to see the price. Because even if you have the intent on grading, you may pay more of a premium for a raw card. If you look at that card in person and you think, okay, this is going to at least get a 9, hopefully a 10, then maybe it's worth paying a little bit more for that card. But, you'll still get a better deal that way. That's kind of my opinion, I hate to see people only focus on the hobby through online and only picking up cards on eBay or COMC, which are still great sources. Those are great ways to find deals and pick up cards that you want too, but it's just, there's nothing like, being able to see the cards in person, before you make that purchase.
for a lot of these players that aren't, the top 3 or 4 players in the league right now, as far as young prospects or young rookies or young players in general, why not pick up a already graded PSA 9 card of a rookie for close to, if not cheaper than what the cost is to get graded?
Yeah, and we're talking even 20 to $50, man. I mean, for certain cards, which is still cheaper than, not only paying the grading fee, but the time that it takes to get the card back.
To get it back. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion with baseball. It's low risk if you have the patience with baseball. I think that it could be high reward if you know how to do your research and you know how to look into players and you know how to read stats and you know how to follow teams and follow players. I think you can keep your feet on the ground and not get too far ahead of yourself with making high risk investments with baseball. I think that he definitely made a good point that his plan this year is to sell at peak performance. I think that's always a good time if you could time it, if you have the ability to track players and track stats. I think that's always a great time to sell. Peak performance can be, a string of, a month of great games, or maybe even like a few series in a row, maybe 3 or 4 series in a row of hitting a bomb or at least 2 home runs during each series. Like, I think that's pretty good if you're heating up. Obviously, the postseason, everybody wants to get there. That's always going to be, the hype leading up to that. If your team's doing good and they have a good shot at going far in the playoffs, I think that's another thing to consider as well. And like you said, buy when it's low, buy in the off season, like we always say, take advantage of those off season dips. And I think you can't go wrong. So let's get into our pickups and flips of the week. So my pickup of the week this week it's going to be soccer. I picked up a 2016 Panini Select Raheem Sterling. This is a filled level, so the best level. And I picked up a copper prism, so that's numbered to 49. This is card number 214 if you want to look it up. And I picked up a PSA 9. This is him in his England kit. I picked that up recently for $50.
Yeah, I will be trading you for that card at some point. Hopefully.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's a beautiful card for sure.
If it's PSA 9 or higher and it's numbered to under 99, dude, even under 50, I should not have been able to pick up that card for that much, for that cheap.
Yeah, and we could never even talk about it because we never saw that card even pop up. It's not a card that you see.
What's your pickup of the week?
My pickup of the week, continuing on with Panini Select, my pickup is actually 2 cards. And these 2 cards went towards a trade. Not sure if it was a good idea or a bad idea, but I went with it. 2019 Panini Select, Kyler Murray. This is a silver prism. So I didn't pick up the field level. That's kind of a goal to get that card. It's not affordable really, to be honest, and you don't really come by it that often. But I did pick up the concourse and the premier level. Both of these cards. Both of these cards are raw. I was able to meet with a friend, and look at these cards in person. They are clean cards. Surfaces, corners, edges is great. Centering is the only thing that throws them off a little bit. So as far as if I'm going to grade them or not, it's still to be determined. I traded these cards for, and you tell me if this was a stupid move or not, but 2019 Panini Prism Kyler Murray base rookie. This was a BGS 9.5. It was a min gem, meaning that, it wasn't, quad 9.5s. It had a 9 subgrade on the centering. So the way that I looked at this is I'm picking up 2 really clean copies of some silver cards, which are a lot harder to come by. Centering is off, but what am I giving up? Kyler Murray Prism rookie, where the centering is not that great on it. So I kind of just traded them straightforward. They're beautiful cards. The silver selects are just great. I hope to get a field level again at some point. But yeah, those are my pickups of the week, man. Those 2 cards. I feel like that was a decent trade in my opinion.
I think so too. I always am hesitant or a little bit apprehensive trading a graded card for raw cards, but I think that deal was a solid deal. I think you made the right choice.
If you can see the cards in person too, that makes a lot of a difference.
Exactly. And I think that's I don't think you would have made that same deal if it was sight unseen. So my flip of the week, this was a bit, I would say it wasn't a huge long-term flip, but almost a year in the making. Last summer, so in August of 2020, I picked up a PSA 10 2017 Panini Select silver Gigi Buffon, so Gianluigi Buffon, this is card number 175, and this was a PSA 10. I picked this up last August for $35, which is a steal in itself for a silver PSA 10. So this was an absolute steal, and I probably shouldn't have let it go, but it's whatever, dude. Cards are cards. So I picked this up close to a year ago in August. I spent $35 on it for a PSA 10 silver of probably one of the best goalkeepers to ever play the game. And I sold that recently for $127. So
That's a flip.
that's a huge flip. I actually spoke to the person that I sold it to on eBay, and they're huge Italy fans. So it ended up in the right hands, I think. And I was able to make a sizable flip on this card. Again, patience is everything. It went from August to more recently, and you just got to just know what you're doing. What about you?
My flip of the week hurts me to even say. It's going to hurt you too. Is a 2017 Panini Select Kylian Mbappe field level.
What? You didn't even tell me about that.
Yes, I did. I told you I was going to do it. This was a PSA 9. I sold this to, I've talked about Michael Rubin, one of our friends, many times, and he's going to definitely be on one of the segments for an upcoming podcast at some point soon, hopefully. But I sold that card to him. First of all, I pulled this card myself when we were going in, when soccer was ridiculously cheap. We were buying cases of hanger boxes.
The first soccer products we purchased ever.
Yeah, it was. And granted, I mean, field levels aren't the easiest, you know what I mean, to pull, let alone for an Mbappe. I think you got like 1 or 2 field levels per hanger box, I want to say. But at the same time, there's so many of them, and Mbappe is an incredibly hard card to pull. I've seen people open hobby boxes of that same year product and not pull an Mbappe, or even cases, I want to say, and not pull an Mbappe.
I mean, we opened a case of that between you, me, Eddie, and Cole, and there were only 2 Mbappes pulled.
Yeah, and Cole pulled the red checkerboard, which is a monster card, which I'm sure he got rid of already at this point. But I mean, so getting back to paying a small portion to be able to rip these products, spending the $15 or whatever to get it graded, having it come back a 9, not in it for much. I do see the long-term value of that card holding up because it's probably a lot harder to come by. It's more of a true rookie, in my opinion, outside of obviously the Panini foot Mbappe rookie. But sold that card for $700. $700. I've seen that card hit 1,000 or a little bit more. I've seen it hit lower, under 700, but I feel like the long-term value of that card is going to continue to rise. It was hard to get rid of, just kind of needed to make a sale, trying to help, Ruben out with picking up some more soccer cards, so I know it's going to a good home. He grades with PSA a lot. I know he has a lot of subs coming back, so kind of the catch with it is, hey, I got some LeBron cards coming back. I got some stuff that you'll probably be interested in, so I'll get you back with something, whenever that sub pops back up. One of those things, it's a great profit on a card. It's one of those cards that you don't necessarily need to sell, or for me, I didn't necessarily need to sell in the long term, but at the moment it just felt right. So yeah, a flip is a flip.
Yeah, dude, a flip is a flip, and it ended up in a great home and a new soccer collector. So that makes it even better, is knowing that it's a person not only that we know and respect and are friends with, but is also getting into soccer. So any way we can help people expand their collection, I'm all for it. And like you said, dude, he does sub a lot of PSA thing. He does do a lot of PSA subs. Yeah. And that's one of the most exciting things about the hobby, in my opinion, is forming relationships, meeting people, building bonds, building friendships over time, and knowing like, all right, like everything just kind of exchanges hands. Like that $700 that you needed at the time, or that it just felt right to sell it at the time, and that Mbappe trading hands, at that moment was what had to happen. And then I'm sure down the road, that same amount of value is gonna transfer right back monetarily and in cards, like down the road. Like that's pretty exciting, man. I'm glad that it went to Michael Rubin.
Yeah, everybody should win. I mean, especially amongst friends and in the hobby, everybody needs to win. You gotta give deals, you gotta give good prices. And to be honest, it's probably going to be a card that I'm going to be trying to get back from him at some point in time if he still has it. I don't think he's going to sell
I'm
it.
gonna laugh when you do.
He's just like, yeah, that'll be $2,000. No, and that's the thing. That's the cool thing too, is like we had an agreement that like at some point down the road, if I want to get that card back, I mean, he's not going to ask like a crazy premium on it, and yeah. I'd like to see it just stay in his collection. I'll move forward. I'll pick up another Mbappe, or something else that I want, and that's just kind of how it goes. You keep moving forward and, picking up other cards. I mean, it's you can't take everything with you. You know what I mean? There's certain PC cards that I know we would not let go of, but if you get rid of something, it's always replaceable. It's not like that's the last card you had. It's like You can always move on to something else.
Yep. And again, shout out to Michael Rubin. And his Instagram, if you're interested, is Docs Sports Cards. So that's DOCS SPORTSCARDS on Instagram. Make sure to give him a follow. Great dude. He's been a collector his whole life. Awesome dude. He's a teacher. Great people, man. So those were our pickups and flips of the week. All right, man. So how do you feel about today's episode? Is there anything else you wanted to add as far as why prices are so low right now?
I think we covered it. Regardless of why prices are so low, again, just don't be discouraged. If you're a true collector and you enjoy the hobby, I mean, it's gonna stick around. It's been around for a long time. People have obviously gotten into it more since the pandemic and the huge market fluctuation, but at the end of the day, I mean, cards have been around for a long time. They're going to continue to be around for a long time, and the best advice I can give you is, whether it's older or modern, just keep it in the best shape possible. Take care of your cards, because that's the biggest way that they're going to appreciate and value, is keeping them in good condition.
Correct. Watch his factory so they appreciate. Shout out to Drizzy. Get him on the podcast. Yeah, man. So I just one quick thing that I wanted to add into that is, I am so hyped that prices are coming down on Kobe's. I've been throwing a lot of Kobe's in my watch list that I've been wanting for some time. I got some bids going out, and I'm just glad that those prices are starting to normalize a bit, even if it's temporarily. I'm just glad I'm able to pick up some Kobe's that I've been wanting at decent prices that we don't have out for grading. So
for sure,
I just wanted to add that too.
That is what it's about, man. That's what it's about.
So we really appreciate you taking your time today to listen to another episode of this podcast. We really enjoy putting this out for you. It's something that I know that both of us enjoy and look forward to recording each week. We hope that you look forward to listening each week, which we see you out there. We see the numbers, and people are listening. So shout out to you. It does mean a lot to us. If there's anything we can do to help you in your collecting journey, if you have any questions, if you need a second opinion on anything, if there's any way we can help promote something that you have going on, if there's anything that we can do to help you in any way, do not hesitate to reach out to us on Instagram at Raw Mints. You can ask for either of us. You can ask for one of us separately. We're here to help. That's what the hobby's about, and that's what we want to continue to keep the hobby alive in that sense, is helping others and helping other collectors and helping spread the love of the hobby. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to continue to do. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Rate, review if you can. It helps us a lot. and share with a friend, share with somebody that might be interested in picking this up. But again, thank you for taking the time to listen to us week after week. This has been another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mints. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Bruce.
Thank you for listening.